got from just what you were saying is that like, what are the challenges of being a non-technical founder in a highly technical field of, AI
Right.
tech, essentially? It it's a good question. It's one that I've reflected on quite a bit in the last like year and a half since we've decided to go all in on building this augmented intelligence. And it's interesting because when I think about like my childhood growing up in Hawaii, I was like lucky enough to live on a military base, and I went to school on base for a little while and then off base, and got to surf when I was 5 years old, and like was constantly in nature. It inspired me to go down this path of science, and I ended up starting out my college career as a biology major. Um, and when I think about software, I think about like this like a nucleus that's formed, and then it has to like you have to think about the scale of and the complexities of the human body on the cellular level, and then you go all the way out to the complex beings that we are, walking around, talking, having conversations, using tools, etc. You know, in my mind, I really liken nature and biology and collective intelligence and all these things to how software works. And I had breakfast the other day with a woman that has a fantastic AI company and in the retail e-commerce space, and I didn't know this. She's from Tel Aviv, and she was telling me like, do you know how Waze was like? She was like, I talked to the guy that originally built Waze, which came out of Israel, and she was like, do you know how this he came up with this algorithm? He was inspired by watching ants. He's like, ants have never run into each other. They don't like bump into each other. It's like, and so he was inspired to create Waze, and the algorithm was inspired by watching this ant colony in Israel.
That's fascinating. That is fascinating. I had no idea that that was the case.
Yeah.
That's really, really cool. That's a really cool story.
So, although I'm not the one that's actually writing the code, I think there's a lot to be said for kind of tapping into nature and really like looking at why we're solving this problem, why it matters, um, and what tools do we have available, uh, to actually facilitate a an environment and in a world that we want to live in. And I can tell you right now, I don't want to live in a world where I have to spend 61% of my time, according to McKinsey, managing information and only
Hmm.
39% doing tasks. Like, I'm over it, you know?
Me too.
Like,
No, so one of the things I mean that came to me when I was building a company as a non-technical founder was just making sure that you surrounded yourself with people that you trusted, but that that you felt comfortable with, and like so how do you think about, or how do you go about hiring as a non-technical founder for a technical role? How have you kind of approached that subject or that topic?
yeah, I've been really grateful and blessed to have been around the industry for a while. I started my company when I was 25. I know you started Best Techie when you were, I think, 13. So I got into the tech space pretty early. The BlackBerry was like they were just phasing out BBM, and and Apple was kind of accelerating with the iPhone. And I got to meet a lot of the kind of the early, you know, people that shaped the industry, and including this woman who was the head of the App Store and developer evangelism, and my former CTO, and the first person that like really laid the foundation for our code. He was a tool chain engineer that hacked the iPhone and ended up building Nike Plus as the first app that he ever built.
That's
You know,
crazy.
so
That is crazy.
it's like he has two apps that come natively that he's touched the code or built or whatever over time. Siri is one of them, and Nike Plus was the other one. Um, and so obviously he didn't build all of Siri, but he was definitely part of the team. And so with that said, I've been able to kind of, through him and through other people that have been on my team over time and people that I've met over the years, I've been able to kind of tap into that. And then as of recently, particularly around the topic of AI, I've been able to connect with a lot of people on Clubhouse. And that was kind of a godsend because, we're not out networking. I mean, that's how you and I met. And I was able to connect with, Shira Eisenberg, who you probably know from Clubhouse. And she was like, an NLP, I don't actually know her title, but she was NLP, like, researcher at MIT. And, I connected with Anton, who's like a rock star, kind of AI influencer that works for Blue Ridge Technologies out of Maryland. And I connected with a few other people in AI, and just kind of through all of these relationships, I've been able to build the team over the past few years. So it's just been the culmination of just all my energy in the tech world, and also building the startup community, here in South Florida, and being, part of the fabric that supports everything, the influx that we've had now.
Yeah,
Today.
for sure. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about Florida Tech.